So let's give the chickens Dhamma Desana. Now let's see if I can get some. So it's still a bit noisy. We are all here to practice. We are all here to practice the path of liberation that leads us to the end of dukkha. Our intention is strong to go the path to the end of dukkha. But we are caught up. The moment we have the intention, we are caught up. Thinking this is important, that is important. This needs to be done, that needs to be done. And we forget our intention. And then maybe 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 7 years later, we thought, we had such a strong determination to make it along the path. Where has it gone? The kilesas have the power over us. Don't ever forget them. They have the power of forgetting. Things that are important, they completely forget. Within a minute time, within a second time, they forget. Things that are not important, they bring up as the most important things. And they make it to us very logical that we should follow this path or that we should follow that path. And we do it because we believe them. We're in the habit of believing. Because that's what we are. That's what we think we are. So if they tell us something, then of course we should do this. Or we should do that. We should follow this, or we should follow that. That's the way how they trick us. And it's important for us to understand it. That they constantly trick us in believing this or in believing that, in doing this or in doing that. So if you don't have a basis of practice, if you don't have the basis of practice, knowing from the morning that we wake up to do our recitation of Buddha, or keep on doing Buddha, 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 until we close our eyes, they will constantly intercept. They will constantly interfere with our practice. Say, this is to be done, that is to be done, this should be done like this should be done like that, this is the future, this is the past. Constantly interfering with our practice. So if you don't have the basis, and the basis means a constant practice, just something that is very habitually, something that comes out, is a second nature to us. The moment we open our eyes, we do Buddha, until we close our eyes. Or we do investigation. And just one topic that we choose to pick on. That is the thing that undermines the power of the kilesas, that undermines the reasoning of the kilesas. This is nice, this we should do, or this should we investigate, or that should we investigate. Because after a while, the kilesas turn into Dhamma if they see they cannot catch us with any worldly topics anymore. Then they're going to exploit Dhamma. Exploit Dhamma, this is interesting to investigate, or that is interesting to investigate. And constantly switching our mind from here into there. But if we have a constant practice, if we have a basis of practice, well, it's actually kammatthana. Kammatthana means a basis of practice. If you have a basis of practice, they are not able to do this with us, or do that onto us. Because we know what we should do. So we should reflect very carefully in the morning what we should do. And that we should follow the rest of the day. Okay, today is samatha. So that means Buddha, 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 Buddha. And there's nothing that lets us change our minds. We just do the things that is necessary to do, like feeding ourselves, or washing ourselves, or cleaning the putty around us. These are just the necessary things that we need to do. But everything else is kept to the reciting of this, or mentally staying at the object of attention. We're constantly wanting to interfere with our practice, with the constancy of our practice. You understand it? Not just practicing 1 hour, 2 hours, or then leaving it off for a while, and then practicing again 1 hour, and then leaving it off for a while. This is the way of the kilesas. Constancy, determination, and effort. This is the way of Dhamma. Putting all our effort in the practice. Okay, now I do my practice and I don't do anything else. And then we stick to this decision. No matter what. Even if we are going to die, we stick to it. Okay, let's see what's going to die. If you're constantly swirled around by the kilesas who want to do this or who want to do that, now I want to have a drink, now I want to have a pee, now I want to discuss this, now I want to talk about this, now I want to investigate this, now I want to do this. We will not come to a point, we will not come to find any kind of results in our practice. Neither do we get calm, nor do we get results from our investigation. And investigation is not an easy topic. Investigation is a very difficult topic. Investigation, or the development of wisdom, it's not easy. And especially if it refers to the body. And that is our first object. The body and bodily feelings. This is the first topic of our investigation. Until we have dealt with it, we are going to do only this type of investigation. From top to down, from bottom to up. From inside to outside, from outside to inside. Put it into small pieces, put it into large pieces. Investigate just this piece or just that piece. Until we see it clearly. Until we see the fleeting nature of this body. That means anicca. Everything is changing within this body. Once we eat food, there's constant change in this body. When we don't have food, there's constant change in this body. The air that we breathe in, constantly change. The air that we breathe out, constantly change. Even when we do the Buddha constantly changes. There's a Bu, there's a Bud, there's a Do, and so on. Sometimes the Buddha is deep, sometimes the Buddha is shallow, sometimes the Buddha is fast, sometimes the Buddha is slow. And just the same with the breath. This is one of the things. When we do investigation, we see the fleeting nature of this body. See how it is grown up from birth now to our age now, and how it's going to die. And then it's going to be born again, and it's going to die again. And it's born again and it's going to die. And there's no end to that unless we put a stop to it. And the stop to it is breaking out of the cycle of samsara vata. That means breaking out of the cycle of endless rebirth and death. But we have to make a great deal of effort to step outside of this cycle. You know what is necessary to step out of the cycle. I've mentioned it often enough. And the first main fetter is the doubt. The doubt that there is heaven, there is hell. The doubt that there is karma, and there are results of karma. That there is good karma and there is bad karma. And so on. The second fetter is a fetter that binds us to the moral precepts, or the 5 precepts. Not keeping them, or one day keeping them, and the next day keeping them. Or one day keeping them, The next minute we want something that is against it, and then breaking them and keeping them again, and breaking them and keeping them again, and breaking and keeping them again. Just in line with our wishes. That is the second fetter. The third fetter is more crucial. For most of us, it's the biggest problem. It's the body and and I, or the body and the citta, are two different things. I explained it often enough with the car and the driver. The car and the driver, if the driver would have been born in a car, he wouldn't know that he and the car is something different. He wouldn't just know it. Because all his life he has spent in the car. All what he knows is living in this car and driving this car. He doesn't know that there's an outside, that he can actually step out. And it's the same thing with the citta in the body. The citta is the driver of this body. If the citta is completely quiet, then the body will not move, will not do a thing. It just stays right on. It just stays right put. The moment the citta moves, the body moves. The citta wants this, it just takes it, like the driver wants to go from A to B, so it puts in the gear, and drives up to B. And that's the same thing. It's an analogy. So, and we have to understand that the citta and the body are two different things, actually. Of course, logically we understand it. After a while we tend to understand. Oh, yeah, sure, And when we come from the West and are being educated in the West, we don't take the body seriously enough. When we are sick, we put it to the hospital, or when we are sick, we go to the doctor and get some medicine to repair it. Just like we put our car into the repair shop, once it's getting well, we take it back on again and happily ride it out. So we are out of touch. Especially when we come from the West, we are out of touch with the body. We don't see the body as something very important. We use it, but we don't see it as somebody important. It is just like when in the beginning we were imprisoned by a rusty barbed wire that kept us from moving here and moving there and looking over the barbed wire. We always see this barbed wire, this prison of us, this prison of ourselves. We always see it in front of our eyes, and it's pretty ugly. And then the Kilesas are so gracious and give us a big ladder. So we're going to step up and step up and step up until we don't see this ugly barbed wire anymore, and we see beyond the trees, we see the rivers and the countryside. And then we are happily see this and see that. But we cannot get off the ladder. The moment we would go down the ladder, we would see that barbed wire again, and we are so angry about this infencement that we won't go down. We don't want to see it. Whenever we look at it, we will just put our eyes back up in the sky. Don't want to see it. So the first step of the practice is getting down from that ladder, or, in other terms, getting out of our ivory tower that we have been living so long. And what is our ivory tower, or what is the ladder? Living in our minds, only in our minds. And the Westerners are especially good at that. They don't care about the body, they don't care very much about the body, they're not even in touch with the body anymore. And that's why they think the body is just a secondary thing, and it doesn't matter, if I get one or don't get one. But that is not true. Now the first step is, to get down from this ladder, or get down out of our ivory tower, And look at the reality. Look at that barbed wire, at that rusty barbed wire. When we're going to cross it, we would cut up ourselves. Looking at that. And that is the same thing as looking at greed and hate. That just stays for this barbed wire. Greed and hate that keeps us within this area that is fenced off. Now we have to actually climb down and see the reality. See the reality of our body. See the reality of the fence that we are fenced into. Of the area that we are fenced into by this body. We cannot just go up to the sky because the body is limited. It's going to limit it. We cannot go to hell because this body is going to limit us. The citta can go anywhere, but it's still imprisoned into this car. There are no doors in the car that we were born into, where one easily can open the door and get out. That's not so. We are stuck in this body. We were born in this body and we will die in this body. Only when the body is dead, then the citta will be released. That at least holds for most of us. Unless we don't have the practice, getting out of the body. Can actually make it. Getting out of the body and getting back into the body. When we get out of the body, we better have a careful look at this body. So we don't assume. What is it? What is the importance of what I all tell? It's we don't assume that we are attached to this body. We think, we still are up in our ivory tower. We think it's not so important. We don't feel attached to it. Only if it gets really sick, then we suffer with it. If it gets healthy again, then we are happy again and forget everything about the sick. We forget that we are attached to this body, that we live in this body, and that we are going to die in this body. So the first thing is to understand the relationship between the citta and the body. This is something that we really have to understand. This is something that we have to nail down. This is something that we just cannot get off with our mind. The moment we use the mind, okay, yes, this body is heavy, this body is filthy, this body is going to be dying, but I'm not interested in this body really more, then we are actually up in our ivory tower again. Then we actually climb up the ladder, and don't want to see this body. So the path of practice is first to climb down and see the body as it really is. And then investigate it thoroughly. So that we see the citta and the body are two different things. This is something we have to see. This is something we have to understand. This is something we just cannot make up in our mind. We always love to make things up in our mind. Yes, of course. Yeah. Okay. That's like that. Maybe after listening 10 times to this, you say, okay, yeah, I'm not attached to my body anymore. I don't feel any upset. Just remember one thing, that we were born in this body, and we were going to die in this body. And when we die, we will look for another body, if we think at the moment we like it or not. The moment we don't have a body, it's just like a car, it's just like a driver who is kicked out of his car. The next thing is he looks for another car because he doesn't like to walk. He likes the comfort of driving from here to there. It's faster. He doesn't like to walk through the heat. He needs his air conditioner, or he needs his music, and so on and so on. All the entertainment, all the pleasures that the body gives. And the pleasures the body gives us are the 6 senses. So seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, and thinking. That's a pleasure that the body gives us. It's like the interiors of the car. It's the stereo, it's the air conditioner, and it's a radio or a cassette player or whatever. So we stuck to it, because we like it. And if we are getting out of the car, we don't have any of these. We don't have a stereo, we don't have an air conditioner. If it's hot outside, we will sweat. And we don't like it. So we better get back in the car. And that's why we choose another body after our death. We love it. We love just the sensation of this body. Whatever it is it seeing, is it smelling, is it hearing, is it tasting, is it touching, is it thinking. We just love it, and we want to have another one. And that's the whole reason why we have to investigate it so thoroughly. First of all, we have to investigate what is the body. What is it made of? It's made of air, it's made of water, it's made of fire, and it's made of earth alone. It is born, it's growing old, and it's going to die. And in the time during that, it will get sick and healthy. Sick and healthy. And that is the first step. It brings us a lot of trouble. We constantly have to look after it. We have to train it. We have to feed it. We have to give it water. We have to give it medicine. We have to get it clothes. We have to look for a house, for shelter, anything. So it's troublesome. But it's not only that we do that in our mind, we really have to feel it. And that is the hard part. We really have to feel it, how bothersome it is. If it's just necessary, to teach the mind that the body is bothersome, every one of us, would be rid of this body better. We wouldn't get another body anymore, because everybody can agree that this body is loathsome, or this body is bothersome. Every one of us agrees. We're so ready to agree. But that doesn't help us, in not getting another body. Just remember this. Just listen to it very carefully. This does not help us. Just our ideas, and our thinking about how the body is bothersome, how the body is loathsome, doesn't get us another body. It will get us. Our thinking doesn't change a thing. If our thinking could change things, if our thinking could make us free, then we would be all free by now. Got it? Understand this? So we don't have to teach the mind. We don't have to teach the mind to get free, but we have to teach the citta. Because the citta is attached to these things. The citta is attached to the senses. We don't realize that until we really cut down. So we have to get actually within our citta and see the body from the citta's view. And tell the citta, see how bothersome this body is. Every time, every occurrence, the body is bothersome. Teach a citta. Do you see it now? Do you understand it now? And of course, it will not understand. It takes a long time to make it understand. It just doesn't believe the mind. The mind believes it easily. Now you get this subtle difference. It's a subtle difference. The mind will easily cope in and say yes, 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 yes. But the citta is quite stubborn. It will still feel attached to this body. Unless you really show its nastiness. It's like teaching a child, that the fire is hot. Unless you are constantly standing around and telling, see, little child or little daughter or little son, see, the fire is very hot, so if you come too close, you will burn yourself. And the child gets it. But it will not make it, not moving its hand one time into the fire or playing with the fire. The only time when it plays the fire and sticks its hand in the fire, it really knows. And it will not do it again. But before that, it always longs to grab into the fire, to see that sparkling and this yellow and red flames. It's so interested in these yellow and red flames. So it wants to grab them. And it's just like that, like our citta. It wants to grab them. And it constantly grabs them. Unless we don't teach our citta, that it is something that is burning itself. Itself, not the mind. It will not let go. The moment the citta realizes, like the child realized, that the fire actually is very hot and very burning, it will retract immediately in hand and will never touch again, not willingly touch again the fire. In that same sense, we have to teach the citta until it really understands and lets go of the things. Once we show it how burning this fire of the body is, then it will let go on its own accord. We cannot make it let go. We just need to show it. And this process of showing is a long process. We always have to teach it. We have to teach it. Do you see that? Do you see that blood? Do you see that fat? That greasy yellow fat? Do you see the skin, how it wrinkles? Do you see the ugliness of the skin? Or do you just want to see the beauty of the skin? Even if you look at a beautiful woman or a beautiful male or a handsome male, when you look very close at the skin, you will see all its faults. So just have a closer look at it. What is so beautiful about the skin? Even if it's a young skin, what's so beautiful about it? Take a magnifier glass and look at it. And you will see its ugliness. All the sweat that is coming out, all the grease that is coming out, all the hair that is coming out, and so on, and so on, and so on. So what is so beautiful about the skin? But if you take a distant view, oh yes, beautiful. Yeah? And we are falling for this. When we see a woman, then we think, oh, she's so beautiful, I want her. What do we want? We want the skin, then just get the skin, have it wrapped up. But you don't like this. When we just see the skin, and then look inside that skin, it's just fatty and greasy. We wouldn't like it. So we have to show the citta these kind of things that it doesn't like to see. That's the way of investigation. We have to show it the blood. We have to show it the intestines. We have to show it the food that we just deliciously so deliciously ate, 2 hours ago. Now let's have a look at the food, how it is in the stomach. It's repulsive. If it's not repulsive, then we have to make it repulsive. Oh yeah. Our minds, our Western educated mind, of course, that is a natural process. It gets the acid of the stomach, and then it's going to compose and this is its elements, so that we get our nutrition or that we get our energy from. That is a logical explanation. It has nothing to do with our investigation. Let's have a look at this and let's feel how it stinks and how it smells inside of our body. And let's compare it to the moment it just entered our mouth. And then we see the big difference. We like to eat one more bite of this, one more bite of that. But if we take out what is in our stomach and put it on our plate, we wouldn't like one more bite. Instead of, we would throw out the rest of it. Throw it up. But we are only playing with our investigation. We are not really getting down to it. Because we have all what is in our mind are the images that we have. And all what we have in our mind are the sweet reasons why it should be like this. Why the food in the stomach should be like that. Or why the food, that comes out of our large intestines, should be brown and stinky and smelly. Also called shit. We have all explanations for this. But that doesn't mean we still hate it. We still don't like it. We have to look. We have to look at it. We have to look at how much effort, how much energy we put into this to keep up this body. from our youth to our death, how much energy, how much worries we put on, just to keep up this body running. And in the end, this body has to die. Just a waste of time. We should have devoted our time to some much better thing. Now, when we've got through this, when we see it for what it really is. Now remember, when we are going up the ladder, and just look beyond the barbed wire, we don't see the barbed wire. And we see just what we want to see. And this is just the same with the body. We just want to see the body as we always thought of it. A machine that is going to move us from here to there. And a machine that has an air conditioner and things like this. That means that it has the 6 senses. The senses of seeing, smelling, hearing, tasting, touching, and thinking. And that's why we want this body. That's why we actually, take all the trouble that come with this body. Because what we want is the 6 senses. If we wouldn't get any of the senses from this body, nobody would willingly take up this task of feeding something like that. If we didn't get any senses out of this body, if we didn't get out any seeing, any hearing, any smelling, any tasting, any touching, and any thinking, we wouldn't dare to feed this body. We would throw it away immediately. You have to understand it. This is one thing that gives us these pleasures. Or that's what we think they are pleasures. Seeing, we think is a pleasure. Hearing, we think is a pleasure. Tasting, we think is a pleasure. Touching, we think is a pleasure. Smelling, we think is a pleasure. Thinking, we think it's a pleasure. And that's why we actually take this heavy load of this body on us. Now we have to understand the first of the things we have to understand is the loathsomeness of this body. And then we have to understand that it gives us these 6 senses that we are after. We are not after this body. We just take it in as part of the deal. You understand that? Part of the deal. If we don't make this deal, we don't get it. We take it in. But we forgot it. That it's part of the deal. All what we see is now seeing, hearing, tasting, smelling, touching, thinking. That's what we see. We don't see the body. Now we have to see the root of it. Where do the senses all arise in this body? Now get rid of this body, and destroy it. Destroy this body. Destroy the senses. Destroy the pot of earth where all the senses root into. And the senses are not always pleasant senses, they are unpleasant senses. And as long as we're on the human earth, the most that we can get is 50-50. 50 pleasant, 50% unpleasant. Most of the time it's more unpleasant than pleasant. That's what we're after. So when we investigate the body, we have to investigate it thoroughly, to see the pot for the senses, and to see the pot for the senses, for the 2 big fetters, the fetters of greed and hate. What we like to see, you can call greed. What we do not like to see, that's what you can call hate. And immediately, the moment a side is taking up, it's one way or the other. There is a neutral state that is called a neutral feeling. But most of the time, it's either greed or it's either hate. It's the same with hearing. We either like it or we don't like it. Most of the time, we either like it or don't like it. Only a few times it's neutral. We do not care. So this liking and this dislike is coming in accordance. But all of our life, we have trained to like the things and run after the liking things. We have run after the pleasant sounds, after the pleasant sights, after the pleasant smells, and avoided all these unpleasant sights, the unpleasant hearing, and the unpleasant tastes. And now within the practice, we have to bring that up. And that's why I often say, don't eat what you want to eat, and just eat what you don't want to eat. Don't see what you want to see, and see only what you don't want to see. Take a closer look at that, what you don't want to see. And we have to be extremely mindful to catch it. It's coming up along all the time. You just have to walk now back to your kuti and you will see it coming up. This I don't want to see, that I don't want to see, that I want to... It's coming up so fast that we don't even catch it. But it's constantly there bothering in the mind. So we have to raise our attention to that. See, this I don't want to see. This I don't want to hear. This I don't want to smell. This I don't want to taste. This I don't want to touch. And then investigate it. Look at it. Why you don't want to touch it? Why don't you want to smell it? Why don't you want to taste it? Why don't you want to see? This gives you a clue about the hidden obstacles within your citta. This will give you a clue. If you go deeper and deeper and deeper, it will give you a clue about the big roots of greed and hate that are still residing within this body, or within your citta. That's where it takes root. And that's where we have to uproot it. That's the only place. Now remember, first is to get down from our ivory tower and to really face reality. To face it. Don't say, there's nothing wrong with this body, I don't like it anyway. Just don't say it, just do it. Do it until you feel. Until you feel, and that is the way. The citta will understand until the citta feels the loathsomeness of this body. Not until the mind thinks about it. Yeah, this is really heavy. That's useless. The citta really has to feel the loathsomeness of this body. Do you understand it? If you can't feel it, cut yourself up. And do it mentally, but that's painful enough. Just put a sharp knife at the front of your head and pull it down, and you will see the blood running out. You feel the pain of the cut. If you always feel pain. And then you do it correctly. If you just do it and just see blood, and don't have any feeling, you don't teach the citta. You just memorize anything. You just memorize pictures that you have seen. But it's not really worthwhile. The citta has to feel the pain. The citta has to feel it. See the side of the plant. And when you tear off the skin, it has to see the inside. And I promise you, the citta doesn't want to see. The citta doesn't want to see its side because it's so disgusting. And if you continue this kind of practice, the kilesas that are hidden in the citta will make you forget that this practice is wholesome. They will let you do any kind of practice that is not bothering them. Yes, this is important, that is important. And you forget about investigation. Once you really get at the kilesas, they make you forget. Just remember that. Remember that that the citta actually has to feel that loathsomeness. that the citta has to feel it, and it's a feeling. It's a sense of a feeling. It's not thinking. It's two different things. By thinking we cannot get liberated. Remember this. Only if we show, sometimes they show the citta how loathsome this body is. Or in the sense, now I said, feel. Let the citta feel how loathsome this body is, how painful it is. Then if you can't think of any painful things, let yourself be cut up or tortured. Then you feel it. And show the citta. See, when the body is tortured, that's how it feels. When you cut yourself up, just take a knife, take a root knife or take a root saw, and saw it up and see. And the pain comes. If the pain doesn't come, you don't do it correctly. If there is no unpleasant feeling coming up, you still don't do it correctly. And then it takes a long time to do it until the citta understands. Don't worry, you cannot do it in 1 day or 3 days or in 3 weeks or in 3 years. It takes a long, long time. It has kept us, this body has kept us into prison for such a long time, immemorable time. Maybe for 1 million, maybe for 1 billion lives. It has kept us in this body, in this imprisoned body. But it made us believe that this body is something very nice or fine. And that's the way how we walked into our ivory tower. That we climbed up the ladder that the Kilesa so friendly gave us so that we will not be able to see that rusty barbed wire that fences us in. That's our prison. The body is our prison. We are in prison. We cannot go here and we cannot go there. We can only go there where the body allows us to go. And once the body dies, we look immediately for the next one. There's no hope unless we do not show the citta. We have to show the citta. We have to let the citta feel how painful, how disgusting, how loathsome, how ugly this body really is. Then it lets go. And then we deal with the senses that arises from these. So, and with this I come to a stop.